Hello. So, welcome to episode 12, I believe it is, without looking. And I'm here in the lovely Midlife Harmony Retreat, also known as Douglas Creek. I'm here in Spain for a few days. And I'm really happy that Fiona has given her time up to come and speak to us. So just before we start, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, because it helps get these podcasts out to more women who need to hear them. And Fiona's going to talk to us about how nature saved her. So without further ado, I'll bring her into the studio. Hey,
Hi.
Fiona, how are you doing? What's sunny England?
I'm good, thank you. It's very hot and sunny here in England, as I'm sure it's very hot and sunny there as well.
It's very hot and sunny. But I always prefer it when it's rainy and cold in England when I'm here, because then it makes me feel even better.
Yeah.
That's really selfish of me. Without further ado, tell us your story. Why are you called Earthen Roots? Well, don't go straight into that, I guess. We'll work up to that. But introduce yourself and let us know what your story is.
So I'm Fiona Green, and I do nature connection coaching and kind of help women connect more with nature and earth and getting back to roots. So that could be nature roots, ancestral roots, all those kind of things. But the reason I've gone down this road is because I had a really, really bad period in my life about 5 years ago now. I keep losing track of time. I think it must be about 5 years ago now, after the birth of my little boy. So he's just turned 5. So yeah, it was 5 years ago. And I had really bad postnatal depression and a complete breakdown. And so it was in COVID as well. So obviously that impacted quite a lot of, I think, your mental health. And I've never given birth. I only have one child, so I've never given birth to a child not in COVID. But it was a very strange situation in terms of like how they ran things. Like my husband couldn't come in with me. I had to go in and get checked out, and they were like, "Oh yes, you're 3 centimeters dilated." It was emergency C-section. He wasn't allowed to be there until I went into the surgery, and then he was allowed to be in the surgery, but then they took us out, put us in a room after he'd been born, and he was allowed to stay for about an hour, but then he had to leave and he wasn't allowed back into the hospital. So obviously after a C-section you kind of have to stay for a little bit while they check you out and stuff, but I tried to leave as soon as I possibly could. I think we were in there for about 24 hours, so that we could be together as a family. So it's a strange thing. And then I was fine for a couple of weeks, but maybe a month after that, something just changed, and it's really weird. I can describe bits of it, but not all of it, because it's almost like a bit of a dream. And everyone's postnatal depression, or negative experiences with things like that completely differ. Mine was just a huge disconnection feeling. It's like I could see the world around me was, working, was revolving. Like my husband was going to work and I had the baby and all kinds of things, but I didn't feel in it. I didn't feel I was part of it. And it was like when people were talking to me, I could see they were talking to me, but I couldn't really hear, or I wasn't hearing or registering what they were saying. I felt completely numb, like no emotion. So there was no kind of connection with my baby or with anybody else around me, for that matter. And
did it feel like all of a sudden?
No, I don't think it did. I think it grew and it gradually got worse. And I think when it happens like that, you don't realize it's happening so much. And like we would argue more, because obviously I was probably being acting strange or saying things or doing things, but I don't remember what they were. But I remember us arguing a lot more and stuff. But then I remember my husband starting to get worried. And the catalyst was, I think, one morning he used to get up really early and go to work. And he started ringing me like when he got to work to check that I was okay, and I'd got up and I was looking after Ted and all these things. And he tried ringing me, and I was just like, I don't want to answer. I don't want to speak to anyone. So I wasn't answering. And he just sent me a message like saying, please, can you answer the phone? I just want to check you're okay and stuff. And I can't remember what my exact words were. but I replied to the message and I just said something like, all I want to do is go downstairs into the kitchen, get a knife and cut my wrists. And I remember thinking, I didn't want to die. I just wanted to feel something. Like, and that could, you know, just even pain in itself. I just wanted to feel something. I felt like I wasn't alive. I wasn't a person. It
So
was
self-harming.
yeah, I guess so. Just to create a reaction, not from him, not from someone else, but
Yeah.
to maybe to jumpstart something within me. I don't know what it was, but obviously that was a huge sign for him. And he came straight home and got on the phone with my health visitor. Because again, like within COVID, the health visitor didn't really come. She came once, like about a week after the baby was born, and then you were kind of left to it. So like he got in touch with like my health visitor and my GP, and they were all really good, to be fair. Like they came out straight away and talked to me, and I was put on antidepressant medication, and they within maybe 2-3 weeks I'd got some talking therapy sorted out as well. I know it wasn't talking therapy at that time, it was CBT, which is, you know, unheard of. Like NHS kind of mental health stuff, people can be waiting for a long time. And I think because I was a mum and I had a little child to look after, and potentially the extreme nature of some of the things I've been saying, or, you know, meant that they kind of
Bumped you up.
bumped you up. However, within that time, like after kind of getting some help and stuff, I just knew something was wrong. And I think so, like prior to, I think I'd been depressed for a long time and I'd just not noticed it. So my dad died when I was 22, and that's when me and my husband actually got together. And we were together before my dad died. But my dad was an alcoholic, and he was a loving alcoholic, if that's the right word. Like he was very present. He was still a good dad, like until nearish the end. But I ended up being almost a carer for him, like looking after him, and not because he was poorly, just because he was pissed all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he lost he'd lost his license from drink driving, so I had to drive into work and drive him here, there, and everywhere. I was always making dinner to make sure he was eating. Like there was a lot of kind of trauma, I suppose, around that I'd not really dealt with. And then he died, and me and my husband moved in very quickly with each other, and he had two young girls. So I became a stepmom very quick, like all of a sudden, like overnight. And then it was quite a few years after we decided we were going to try for children. And we had two miscarriages prior to that. And I'd never heard of this term before. And I thought, oh, like, what the hell is this? Like, I don't even know. I've never heard of it. Like, obviously I know about miscarriages. And essentially, for anyone who doesn't know, a miscarriage is where you have a miscarriage, but your body pretends it's still pregnant, so you don't actually release the baby. So you don't know that you've miscarried. You just everything died inside, but you don't know it because you don't expect anything. Yeah, so we found both times.
So what's that called again?
A miscarriage, because you missed it. Yes, okay. Miscarriage. So we didn't find out until the scans, and then obviously they then had to get rid of remove the baby for me. And so then when I got pregnant with Ted, I think I was quite blasé about it and just thinking that it would happen again, and maybe that's where some of the non-connection with him started, maybe. But I think what the point I want to say is, I think it wasn't just the birth. Everyone calls it postnatal depression because the catalyst was after giving birth. I think for 10 years, kind of prior to that, there was a lot of things that just stacked up and built up and built up. And I would always be the kind of person who would just be, get on with it, just keep going, just do that. And then, you know, after I spoke to the GPs and they diagnosed me with postnatal depression, I kind of just thought, oh my God, like, I don't know who I am as a person. Like, I remember, like, I didn't have a favorite flavor of crisps. Like, whatever my husband's favorite flavor of crisps was, yeah, that'd be mine too. Like, whatever films he would want to watch, we would watch. It's fine. Like, I don't mind. Like, you know, stuff, things like that. Like, and I just felt like, it was almost like just a wake up moment of like,
you were just noticing that then.
Just like, hang on a minute, all these things just start whirling around in your head. Like when I was starting to get some emotion back, I was just like, I don't feel like I've got an identity. And obviously, when you become a mum, your identity does change anyway. And there's a lot around, you know, just being mum as an identity, not Fiona or a friend or a sister or a friend, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I realised that actually this loss or lack of identity had been going on for some time before that. So I quit my job. I was a curator at an art gallery in York at the time. So I quit my job. I left my husband. I moved out. I moved in with my mum. And I basically just like upended my entire life. And I remember at the time, like a lot of people being really stressed and worried about it, and saying that I was making a mistake and I was making decisions when I was poorly, and that I shouldn't be doing that. But in my heart, I knew that it was the right decision for me.
What did you think to that?
My
Did he
mum.
understand? No, your husband.
My husband, no, he didn't. He was very much like, you just saying these things because you're poorly, like, and there was a lot of resistance, and obviously because you're breaking up a family as well. Like when you have a child, just got a child together, and it is really hard. Like it was a very, very, very difficult decision, because I was uprooting everything and I was changing everything, but I just knew deep in my heart that if I didn't change something, nothing would change, because he wouldn't change, and you shouldn't expect other people to change, but I didn't think that I could change as a person if I stayed in that situation. He was a very good husband. He's a very good dad. We're on very good terms now. We have an excellent co-parenting relationship with each other, and I think that's because we, at the end of the day, as difficult and distressing as it was for both of us, we parted not because anyone had done anything wrong, or because anyone was horrible or cheated or anything like that. I just felt I couldn't do it. And I think eventually he did come to kind of understand what I was saying, and it's a long process, but we are really, really close now, and we have a good co-parenting relationship with each other. And then this was kind of the rebirth almost, I guess, of my journey with personal development, self-development, spirituality, who I really am as a person. And that had a lot to do with nature. But
what did you do first when you made that break and you're like, okay, I need to look after me now? How did you start? Where did you go from there?
Well, I think so. I moved in with my mum, and I was very, very fortunate that my mum was a very supportive person. She'd left my dad like years before he was an alcoholic and stuff, and she's quite a strong, independent woman. And I needed that support, because even though I was on medication and I was starting to do therapies and things, like, to have space to be able to do that. And that's a really difficult thing as a single mum. Like, most people will not have that space to be able to look at where they need to go or what they need to do, or to look inside or anything. So that is something I'm very grateful for. The first thing was like almost testing therapies. So I was given CBT, which I hated and did not get on with at all, because in my opinion, CBT is very routine and structured. And when you're a single mum with a baby, there is no such thing as routine and structure. Yeah. So it was a therapy that I didn't think worked for me at that specific time. So then they moved me to talking therapy, and that was really good. But everything was always backwards. Everything was always about the past. And I do think it's important to understand the past and to reflect on it, and to kind of work through certain healing and stuff. But I think what I needed was forward thinking, and I didn't, you didn't get that in therapy and stuff with the NHS and things. So, and then purely by coincidence, I went back onto Facebook. So I'd not been on Facebook for 10 years, like since I've been married and stuff. I went back on Facebook, and within like a day, my old best friend from high school had messaged me. And she happened to be a life coach, and I didn't know what a life coach was. I didn't know anything about the online space and business stuff, and any of that things. Anyway, so we kind of met up, we got talking again, and she basically wanted me to help. Was like, how do you feel about doing a bit of like admin work for me, you know, like VA type stuff, I guess. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. So I started to be immersed in a world where she started talking, you know, I was learning about law of attraction. Like, I thought this was like a
So
dating
he
thing.
wasn't coaching you. You just learned because you were.
Yeah. And then I did do some like mini programs and things that she was doing when I became like more interested in it. But I was just kind of picking up things of like some of the content that I was creating for her and things like that.
Yeah.
And she gave me The Secret, the book by Rhonda Byrne, which was like the first kind of manifestation-y type thing I'd ever read about, which I, by the way, I dislike that book intensely. I like the basis behind it. I just think it's a really badly written book, but by the by. And that was kind of the start. Like, I was starting to learn about certain things and get into it. In the meantime, what I'd started doing was going for a walk every single day, like just 20 minutes. Like, and I'm lucky that where I live, we're kind of, you literally 5 minutes in any direction, you are in the countryside. Like, it's, you know, it's quite lucky where I live.
Who told you to do that? And who told you that would help? Or did you just figure that out yourself? Because I say that to a lot of women, go for a walk, and they go for a walk's not going to help me. You know,
Really?
yeah, they're like, what's that going to do?
No one said to do it. What used to happen is that after I'd have a talking therapy session, I would feel the need to get out and just have some breath. So like, my mum would always have Ted for a good hour or so, because I'd be on a Zoom, COVID still, like on a Zoom call with this person. And it just brought up so many things that I needed to get out of the house. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just needed that. I suppose it was a processing kind of thing. I didn't realize that that's what it was, but I just needed to get out. Yeah. So I'd go for a walk for just like 20 minutes. And that just started building up. Like, the more I was starting to get better, like, I'd spend time with Ted and I would take him out in the pushchair and we would walk for miles, and then I got a baby harness thing and put him in that, because I could do better walks and go in better places with him attached to my chest rather than a pushchair. And then a very random opportunity came up, and I was there's near us, there's like a place called Lotherton Hall, which is house and grounds, and they have a wildlife park there. And I used to walk him around Lotherton quite a bit because it's close to us, and I just really love it. They've got woods and loads of bluebells and all kinds of stuff. And I saw a notice, and they wanted a volunteer zookeeper. And my mum said, oh, I think that'd be really good, because one day a week you'll be outside. You won't really have to talk to many people, like, because you'll just be working with the animals. Like, you'll be outside and you seem to be happier when you're outside. So it's like, all right, okay. So I applied for it. And it's like nothing I'd ever done before. I've always been in an office. I've always been very computer based and, you know, stuff like that. And now for one day a week, I was literally chef, because you made all the animals their food and shit shoveler, sorry, because you had to clean up after them. But I just loved it. Like, that one day a week, I was just, my whole energy and my vibes and the way I look, and I started feeling more positive and thinking about the future and thinking about me as a person and what I would be interested in, because I would never have me down as doing something like this. And I didn't want to train to be a zookeeper. It wasn't a job I wanted to stay in, but I was like, this kind of outdoors thing is just, I just feel so kind of connected to it, and it feels so great. So that was, I suppose, a realization of the need for nature. Like, I needed to be out in it and I needed to be doing things.
It was good that you connected to the way you were feeling and that you could attach it to that, you know.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You were in tune with yourself enough to notice that, weren't you?
Yeah. And then, so that was a couple of years ago, but, you know, fast forward, I did have my own online business. I'm a copywriter. I'm still a copywriter. Me and Ted managed to get our own house. And I would still keep these daily walks and all that kind of thing. And then over the past year, 2 years, I've been starting to do a lot more with the nature. Like I can feel it. Like if I miss a day's walk, or I don't get to go out on a weekend and like more in depth and up a hill or wild water swimming, or we got an allotment, and if I'm not down there every day, I miss it, and I miss getting my hands dirty and just that feeling. And it once upon a time, it's a strange thing to kind of describe, but once upon a time, nature made me feel like high vibed and excited. And I'm not saying it doesn't make me feel like that anymore, but what it makes me feel now is calm and grounded. And part of it, like, because this is the thing with feelings, like if you have the super highs, then you can have the lows. What working with nature has enabled me to do is to have much more of this lovely kind of balance where you just feel perfectly more kind of in
rather
tune
than that and that.
and because it's inevitable. Like you have the highs and lows, dark and light, like these kind of extremes. And I'm not saying I don't still have very happy times, and occasionally still have very low times, but they're fewer and far between. And I'm getting much more of this just real sense of peace and belonging and understanding of myself, of the world around me, of my son. Like our connection now is incredible, and he loves nature as well. We do lots together in it and stuff like that. So that's why I think nature has saved me in a way. Like, you know, I was able to come off medication and still keep getting myself better and keep developing you know, the feelings and working out the tools and resources that worked for me, because, you know, not everything works for everybody. You know, you kind of got to test. Like journaling works for me. Obviously, I'm a writer. I mentioned I'm a copywriter. So, you know, journaling is a good thing for me. And for some people, it's not. So yeah, I kind of found my thing that helped me. And now I want to kind of just get more people involved in it, I think.
So what's the Earthen Roots? Tell everyone. Well, I know what it is because I've done your workshop here in this lovely environment. But for those who don't know what Earthen Roots is, what it's all about, can you explain that? And how, and well, you've explained how you got into being outside and everything, but how did you go down that route to figure out that is what you can do and help more women do the same thing? Describe it.
I think so. I kept getting asked to do workshops. So this was before Earthen Roots was an actual business. And I sometimes don't like saying that word because it doesn't feel like a business. And I think that was the key. Like I kept getting asked to do workshops and meditations, and I'm actually an accredited life coach, but I wanted to do it for me. I didn't want to do it to help anybody else. It was for my help. And I'm an NLP practitioner. I did that because it actually helps a lot with the copywriting. So I was very immersed in that world and I've got qualifications and things. So people kept asking me to do things that weren't copywriting, and I really enjoyed them. And I just wanted more and more and more to be outside and to be in spaces with women outside doing things. And then I can't remember who said it to me. Like one of my friends, I think she was like, why is this not like what you do? And I was like, well, I enjoy copywriting, like, and I'm good at it. She was like, yeah, but just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you should keep doing it. And I was like,
or only do that.
Or only do that. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, okay. So I thought about it, and I set up Earthen Roots. So I've had a couple of events now, and I want to have more events. I've got an event next week. And the whole premise of it is to just get women back to their roots. And I think this ties in with the whole identity crisis that I had during my real low moments, in terms of thinking about the ways that our ancestors used to live, like growing their own food, like rituals that they would have, spaces that they would share, like women's circles and things like that. So all that kind of thinking about past ancestral life and how it's been lost over the past 100 years, 200 years, 500 years even, and really getting back to nature. So I do mean nature as in the physicality of nature, but I also mean our natures, like what we were designed to do. Like we're not designed to sit at a computer for 5 hours. Like families, and I think this is where it's expanding. Like the idea is that it won't just be women that I want to work with. I want to work with families because, you know, it's not natural for families to get up and rush around in the morning and then the kids go off in one direction and the parents go off in the other, and you don't spend time together. Like you snatching hours on an evening or on a weekend, or you know, it's about growing your own food. Like allotment features heavily in quite a lot of my content and stuff. And the event I'm doing next week, I'm really excited because I'm doing an organic veggie stew for everyone as part of the lunch, and it's all from the allotment. And it's just
Love
like
it.
how exciting that I can bring that extra little thing to the table, literally, literally to the table, but that just gets people thinking about the way they live and how nature is a part of it. The thing I feel so much is that like we are nature, but we've become a part of it, like a part from it, not a part of it. And I kind of view everything in approach. I mean, and this ties in quite a lot with spirituality, I suppose, in terms of the universe, like whether we're human, whether we're animal, whether we're plant, whether we're flower, whatever, we're all together, we're all energy, we're all on this space and sharing an experience together. And how can we tap into that more? Like there's so many fascinating, like I love stories, part of my copywriting background as well, but you know, the stories of our ancestors, but also the stories of nature, like the mythology behind trees, certain trees and plants and things. They all have a purpose. There's all a reason for the mythology and the stories, and these stories would get shared. And you know, what plant helps you with this, and you know, like natural things, which I know you're very into because of like how we can help with menopause and stuff. So it's just getting more of that out and sharing these stories and ideas that have kind of been lost a bit, but I feel like they are coming back. And I can, maybe it's because I'm in this world more, but I can see a lot of it
You're
going
seeing it now because you're in it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing in a nutshell.
So describe a workshop to me.
Well, you want to how to describe the workshop that we did? I like to, there's usually kind of three main elements. There has to be some kind of nature. I like to incorporate some form of women's circle within that, because that's when, one, I think our energy gets heightened, because when we're in that space with each other and voices and we're sharing, like I made Jo cry. I didn't mean to make her cry, but it was just like, and in a good way, in like realizing certain things, or kind of, you know, reflecting on things. And journaling is the big thing, because I really believe that even if you're not an avid journaler, like if you don't do it all the time, to be in a space or a workshop or an event where you get that opportunity to just sit.
And it makes you think, you know, the questions that you said and the things that you told us to do. It's like, okay, I'm sitting here and I'm looking around, and it made me be in the present moment and think about my environment, which I spend a lot of time in this environment, but I don't actually do that, you know. So that's what I love.
That's a big thing, because I get a lot of people who say to me, "Oh, I go for a walk. I go for a daily walk. Like I'm in nature," and then I'll ask them a few probing questions. And actually, their walk, they always listen to a podcast on their walk. I'm like, well, you're not being part of nature, then, are you? And I get like people love to listen to podcasts, and it's like, when can you fit it in and stuff? But like, when I walk, I don't listen to anything. When I walk, I will stop and ground myself. I will touch things. I will smell things. I'll do all those senses that kind of makes the walk itself a little bit more mindful. So I do quite a lot of that in workshops, in terms of just getting people to spend time in nature, but that kind of time, not a time when, oh yes, I'm in nature, I'm in the park, I'm taking the kids to the park, I'm in nature. Like we do a lot of planting. If I can help it, like I'll either bring stuff, or I want to start bringing people to the allotment to just get hands dirty, because like I mean, and there's actual science in it. You know, there's the microbes within the soil. When they touch the skin, they release, you know, the happy hormone, serotonin and stuff.
Yeah, and I know that because last week I knew I had to go and weed. I've got a big raised bed of strawberries, and I knew because I don't know what the weed's called. It's a shame to call it a weed because it's really quite pretty, but it winds itself around all the strawberries, and in the end it kind of kills them, and there's a nice flower on it. And I knew I had to go and get that out, and I thought, oh, I haven't got the time, it's a bit of a chore. But when I was actually doing it and I was getting my hands dirty, I was actually there for a couple of hours and the time went like that, and I really enjoyed it. So that's just exactly that, you know.
That's fantastic. Let me give you a good gardening tip. So that sounds like bindweed. And what you can do, once you've pulled it all out, if you put it in a barrel or a tub or some kind of container, stick it all in, cover it all with water and leave it for like 2 weeks, then the water becomes a really super great fertilizer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, so it has some good use then.
It does have some good, and this is the thing. So I don't.
A pretty white flower.
It is a really pretty white flower, yeah. And so I hate to use the term weed because
I know. I mean, what's a weed? A weed is something that
has purpose. So like on the allotment, we have this weed called comfrey, and allotment owners hate it because it's so invasive and literally you've got one and all of a sudden you've got 20, and so like trying to get rid of it is a nightmare. But again, comfrey does a similar thing to bindweed where you can create, I mean, it stinks, but it's fantastic, like organic fertilizer for your vegetables. But also I do leave them in because my spinach and my lettuces are untouched because
they eat
all
that.
the slugs and snails are attracted to the comfrey, and I have perfect crops, like nothing has touched them just because I've got a comfrey plant by it. So I kind of try to think of things not as weeds, but it's like, how can I use this plant? How can I keep some of the plant and remove it and then use the plant? Or like, how can I use all of dandelions? Like me and Ted had a fantastic conversation a few weeks ago about dandelions because he came home from school saying dandelions are a weed. And I was like, and we talked
about if you pick them, it makes you wet the bed. I was told as a child.
Stuff like that. And I wonder why we got told
I don't know why. I mean, why would it make you wet the bed?
I've no idea, unless there is any science. I don't think there is any science behind that. And I think it's because they didn't want us picking them, because when you pick them, the seeds all fly out. You know, like when you blow the clock thing, and then more dandelions come up. But like, I remember
blow them, make a wish.
Dandelions used to be my dad's nemesis. Like, oh, the lawn's covered in dandelions. So
I leave my, sorry to butt in there, Fiona. You got me on a rant now. We don't cut our grass until like, all right, we really need to cut it now, because the dandelions and the buttercups and the daisies, and they're all covered with bees and insects. And we really get it quite long now. We didn't touch it at all in May. We did the May no mow, I think they called it. And it was really nice in the garden. I remember like 5-6 years ago, I just sat in the garden and go, oh God, my grass is cutting. Where I just need to cut the grass. But now I just love it like that because it feels like you're helping nature more.
Yeah, like we planted loads of wild flowers in between our beds at the allotment. And once upon a time, I would have probably been, I quite like order and structure and things to look nice. But now I'm very much like, I want, like, my herb garden at the minute is crazy, and it's how I wanted it to be, but just big sticky out bushes of all these herbs, like
it would be in nature. Like you'd walk down, and in nature it would look like that, wouldn't it? It wouldn't look like perfectly. Yeah, I like that as well.
So,
and that's where you are now.
And that's where I am now. Just kind of getting more and more, lots of big dreams and ambitions for what Earthen Roots will look like, and getting Ted a bit involved when I can, and my partner gets involved. Like my new partner, we have very much kind of aligned values about the world and how we want to live our lives. And we had this conversation on the retreat about, like, you know, just trying to have more. So natural was my word of the year. I think it's probably going to be my word of the year, like every year from now on. But like, just trying to, you know, going from a bathroom cabinet full of lotions and potions and cleaning products and all that kind of stuff, literally minimized down to like 1 bar of soap and a flannel. And do you know what I mean? Like little changes. But I think like when in the online space, like we're so bombarded with so many things like this is bad for you and this is bad for you and like you should do this and you should do that, and we get this overwhelming pressure like to do all of the things that then a lot of people don't do any of the things because they just think, well, what's my little change going to make? But so we just try and implement little bits at a time. We were talking about pans and one of the cookery course things, like we just try and we're not throwing all our non-stick Teflon pans out, but bit by bit we're replacing them with stainless steel.
And that's what I'm doing. One of mine gets damaged once the kids scratch it with a fork or something. I'm replacing it with a stainless steel one, rather than, like you said, getting rid of them all in one go.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. Like we've noticed like a huge reduction in our waste because my work surface has many caddy boxes on it now, but we've got one that's kind of like compost that we obviously take down to the allotment and throw it on there. But then I have one which I put very specific peelings in, like potatoes, carrots, onions and stuff, because I use that to create my vegetable stock. Like I've got another one where I put onion and garlic peel, not like the actual skin leaves in, because I crush them down to make like my own garlic powder and onion powders. We've got a massive thing of eggs because we keep all the eggshells. And like half of them we kind of crush up loosely to try and use as like slug repellent, and then the other we properly grind down, mix that in as fertilizer. So like all these different bits and bobs that we're trying to reuse and put back into the planet and things like that. And it's taking effort, but we just do a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time and kind of grow it and expand it like that.
It's effort for you, but for Ted it will come second nature, because that's what he's growing up with.
The whole point, I think, is that yes, I want to work with women, and I mentioned like how I want that to extend into families, but if we start having the ways of living, the conversations, the storytelling of that all our ancestors used to do, then our children, it will just become second nature. They won't even think about it. It won't be effort, because they'll just naturally be living in a certain way, in a certain lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's right up my alley, as you know.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks for giving up your time for us today, Fiona. Where can people find you? You put your bio in and your link. So what if I share a link of yours, what are they going to get when they click on the link?
Did I give you my Instagram link?
I think you gave me. I'll check. Tell everyone what link you're going to share. And
well, I'll share my Instagram link, because you just, I mean, a lot of the time it's just all the things that have gone wrong in the allotment, so it's quite fun. But then also when I do events and stuff, then I talk about it. I'd like them to be in person as much as possible, because obviously I want them to be in nature. A few people have asked me about doing online things, but it just doesn't feel quite right at this moment in time. It's a new business and it's growing. So
you've shared two links to your workshops, but you haven't you have to send me your Instagram link as well.
I'll send you my Instagram link.
Yeah, and I'll pop that underneath as well. Thank you, my love. Well, enjoy the heat. Don't get too hot. I'm going to have a dip in the pool now because I'm roasting sitting here.
Oh, I wish I had a pool. The one day of the year in England that it's red hot.
You have to get the hose pipe at your allotment instead.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Jo.
Thanks for coming. Nice to see you. Lots of love. Bye.